Our last segment, we talk about four major components and how different organizations will sit down there and take those major components and pivot them. Now we're going to go through and look at some standard models that are out there as to how they took those four components and they integrate them into a functional structure that they go through. You can pretty much open up any kind of textbook or any kind of manual about how you organize organizations, and you'll see this, but sometimes they're focused more on domestic than international. So we're going to focus on the international, but here you see the five different things. You have product area, a matrix style, a customer focused style, and a functional style as you go through. So there's five different ways you can organize an organization as you go through. Here's an international division structure as you go through. You have pretty much your different products, and then you have your international things where you take the products and you mesh them by different geographical components. So this is a little bit different aspect than what we're seeing, because product A, product B, product C, and then how do you distribute them across the planet? And also, do you have individual designs just for that aspect? You may have a product that sells well in Europe, but the coloration pattern, the marketing style would totally bomb if you tried to sit down and put it into Africa in the process you go through. Or it may be highly successful in Asia, and you go to Latin America and people look at you like, I'm not going to buy that because of the fact the design or the functionality even of it. So maybe you need to sit down and have an alteration to product C, and all of a sudden now it's a big hit in Latin America. Always pay attention to culture, because culture will play a role in the aspect of marketing in that country as you go through. So the structure, you have a domestic product giving responsibility for global line operations by the time it's all done. And then you also have product divisions, sometimes responsible for worldwide operations. But you also have to avoid duplication of experts, but then have, instead of maybe a product expert, you have a product expert that's the master expert of everything on that product. And then you have different types of area experts as you go through, which is what this model somewhat shows as you go through. Here's a different one. You really have a product matrix as you go through. On this one, you have a worldwide product for A, worldwide product division for B, worldwide for C. This may work even better because they're focused on the product and they're looking as to how that product can integrate into that specific culture. You also may have some kind of competition in the same country. As you go through, you have, in the UK, you may have a product B over here, marketing over here, and then as crossways to product C, which aren't exactly the same, but maybe the marketing is in conflict with each other. So you have those kinds of weird things will happen in the process. So it really depends how you have it set up. And in the meantime, the corporate staff is sitting saying, what's going on with this? So you have really a whole different problem here, except it may be more effective, and you may have to go and experiment in the process as you go through. Here's a very standard one, the geographic region structures you go through. Geographic managers responsible for all activities in a specific geographic area. Often it's just a country. I'm in charge of the India firm over here. So you have a whole subsidiary over in India, and one person's in charge of it, and they have a whole structure there. And really, that is helpful in the aspect of how it reaches that specific culture and have the different products over there versus having a product over there. You may want to have a mixing as you go through. We'll touch that in a little bit. But geography, this is pretty much a very common way of having a geographic region structure because of the way it's set up. Here's an example of it. Asian Pacific as you go through, European, Africa, Latin America. You may just have general geographic pieces of territory or physical land masses that you're in charge of the continent of Africa. Well, it sounds pretty cool, except you have 3 stores down in South Africa, one in Egypt, one in Saudi as you go through. So you have different aspects like that when you sit down and focus in as to what that really means when you talk about a whole continent, or it could be really over here, like for instance, the European Africa division as you go through. So we call it the whole Mideast division. And that can include Israel, can include everything, all the Arab communities, all the Persian, all the Chaldeans, as well as all the French and everything that's Europe as you go through. So it just depends how you structure it, because sometimes you're not staffed large enough to do a good job, but you have to have a beachhead, so to speak, to sit down there first, introduce your product and your company as you go through. A functional structure, it makes sense, But then you start getting involved in centralization, and you may lose that connection with the individual customer that you often need to have, which the geological one, when it comes down to the geographical ones, that really helps you sit down and focus in and grab the customers in that specific region as you go through in the process. So that being said, you may have administration over here, engineering here, finance over here. You will have that anyway, either on a corporate-wide level, or you're going to have it also in the regional level as you go through, but it just depends how it's set up as you go through. Often, you're going to have a hybrid organization if you really are paying attention to your market as you go through. By hybrid, you take different components, and you may have what works best in North America. Let's have high centralization. And then you get down to South America and you realize that's not cutting it, because maybe the culture is much more personable than you have in the North American market. So all of a sudden you change it and you go by a regionalization as you go through. And the regionalization can be much smaller than you would have in other countries, because you want to have that human connection, which is maybe more meaningful in that market. And then you go over to Asia and you really want to have a highly functional market over there. So and over here. So it depends as to what you go through. So this is a combination approach where you go through domestic is done one way, international in Europe is done another way, international in Asia is done a different way in the process. So it just depends how you're set up and what's best for you. Often you'll have a geographical methodology of doing it, and also this one here is called a matrix organization. Matrix organizations, a lot of times you'll have them broken up, and this graph is a little bit simplistic as to what it really comes down to. Often you'll have a product manager, and then a product manager will capture people from different divisions as they go through and work as a group. So you have really the group project line B, group project line A, and you may have a marketing expert, an engineering expert, and several different people from that geographical turf as you go through, and they're all experts and they're working as a team in that whole area. And you may rotate those members out for different kinds of expertise and different products as you go through. So you may have people on the matrix. The strength of it is you draw from a lot of disciplines. The weaknesses, you draw from a lot of disciplines. Your marketing people may not like working with the accounting people and the manufacturing people. They may like working in their own division. So that being said, who's your boss? Is it really the product manager, or is it the marketing manager when it comes down to it? You'll have these type of internal conflicts, but regardless, you have a group of mixed professionals from different disciplines focusing in on the overall product success in the process. So you'll see that as a good, and you'll see a matrix overlay as you go through the process. Here really are your 5 main designs: the geographic, the functional matrix as you go through, the regional product as you go through, and the hybrid where you combine multiple approaches in a different aspect, sometimes customizing it to a special area or just focusing on a specific large customer. So that said, these are the 5 main designs you'll see, but you'll also see a lot of different types of designs, such as the one we first talked about, the Disney model, how they had to change everything because of increased competition in the technological field. So that said, international org design, it's nice to sit down and think there's a cookie cutter method approach to it. There simply isn't. You just have to sit down and know the 4 factors from our first section, and here are the 5 main designs, and you'll see a lot of variations between both. Take care.